Okay, welcome back. Here we're going to work on packet page 98, and this is notebook page 124, and this is categorizing life on Earth notes. And I'd like to start with kind of a review, going over the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. This is a basic cell structure topic that you must know. So again, we have two columns, prokaryotes and eukaryotes, and then we have characteristics. Okay, so which has a nucleus? Remember, prefix EU, true nucleus. So eukaryotes have a nucleus, prokaryotes do not. The next category has DNA in chromosomes. All organisms have DNA. Now, whether that DNA is enclosed within a nucleus, we don't, that's to be determined. Has circular DNA, that is a characteristic of prokaryotes. Remember, eukaryotes have linear DNA. Which group has ribosomes? Both. Remember, ribosomes are not membrane-bound organelles. Ribosomes are found in all organisms. So all organisms have ribosomes, all organisms have DNA. Bacteria are prokaryotes. Everything else are eukaryotes. Examples include plants, animals, protists, and fungi. Well, that's everything else, so they're eukaryotes. And then includes domains, archaebacteria, and the eubacteria. Those are actually kingdoms. Those are going to be the prokaryotes. So down here, we have a prokaryote, and you can see that this long whip-like structure that some prokaryotes have, of course, is going to help the bacteria move, and that's going to be called a flagellum. Here is the main chromosome. Of course, these dots are ribosomes. And remember, just bringing it up because we just went over it, some bacteria have little circular rings of DNA called plasmids. So those are some of the additional structures that prokaryotes can have. They also have a cell wall. So when we go and look at the eukaryotes, we're now in domain Eukarya, and so these are the kingdoms. There are 4 kingdoms that make up domain Eukarya. So we've got kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Animalia. So again, when we're putting some check marks as to whether this kingdom has this trait or not, and then I give you a couple of little examples or clarify. So let's look at kingdom Protista. Members of kingdom Protista can be both uni or multicellular. However, by far, most members of kingdom Protista are going to be unicellular. Most. There are a few multicellular protists, mainly the seaweeds. As far as their mode of nutrition, whether they're autotrophic or heterotrophic, well, it's split because kingdom Protista is a very diverse kingdom. The algae are autotrophic, but the protozoa are heterotrophic, so we have a check mark with both. Can protists move? Some can. Yes, a lot of the protists can move, like the amoeba and the paramecium and euglena. Do they have chloroplasts? In other words, can they undergo photosynthesis? Yes, the algae can. Obviously, the protozoa, the amoeba, and the paramecium do not. Do they have mitochondria? All organisms. Notice that I have a check across the board here. All organisms that are made up of eukaryotic cells, they have membrane-bound organelles, have mitochondria. All organisms have to break down food to get ATP. And do protists have a cell wall? Some of them do. The algae do. So notice that in kingdom Protista, I've got check marks pretty much all the way down. Again, it's a very diverse kingdom. So now let's move on to kingdom Fungi. All fungi are multicellular. There is one exception, the yeast. Okay, so a group of fungi called yeast are unicellular. That's the only exception. Also, fungi are heterotrophic. That is asked on the EOC a lot. Okay, so I know that it looks like mushrooms kind of grow like a plant, and that makes you think that they can make their own food like a plant, but no, that fungus is living off of dead organic matter in the soil. So fungi are heterotrophic. Can fungi move? No. Do they have chloroplasts? No, because they can't make their own food. They're heterotrophic. Do they have mitochondria? Yes. Do they have a cell wall? Yes. Now, what is in that cell wall? Okay. What's in the cell wall is a substance called chitin, which, if you remember, is one of your examples of your carbohydrates. Kingdom Plantae. All plants are multicellular. All plants are autotrophic. All plants have chloroplast. Again, they're autotrophic. But plants also, even though they can make their own food during photosynthesis, they have to break that food down in mitochondria, which of course is aerobic respiration. Do plants have a cell wall? Yes. What is in that cell wall, what makes up that cell wall, is cellulose. And again, that is another example of one of the carbohydrates we had to learn earlier this year. And our last kingdom in domain Eukarya are the animals. All animals are multicellular. Animals are heterotrophic. They can't make their own food. We get our food by ingesting. Most animals can move. Of course, animals do not have chloroplasts because, again, they can't make their own food. Animals have mitochondria to break down that food to get ATP, which again is respiration. And animals do not have a cell wall. So these are some basic characteristics of the kingdoms of eukaryotes, which is domain Eukarya. So now let's move on to our next chart.